If you flip through the pages of Old School Rods, Pinups and Hot Rods, or Bachelor Pad magazine, you have seen the work of Sveinn Photography. On this episode of Tiki with Ray, I get to know the guy a little bit better behind the camera. Hi everyone, my name is Ray, or some of you might know me as Tiki with Ray, and today on this episode I have Sveinn of Sveinn Photography with me today. We're actually in his, this is your kitchen.
Yeah, it's my kitchen. Well, kitchen, living room thing.
Yeah, exactly. So, Sveinn is actually from Iceland, is that right?
Yeah.
And I guess I'm kind of saying your name sort of right?
It's kind of right.
I remember the one time you said to me it's more like you use your nose, so if I got it right, it was more like...
That's right. You blow your nose at the end. It's a snotty name. What can I say?
It's a snotty name. Up yours. How do you say it?
So we pronounce it Sveinn.
And I'm not even close.
Yeah, I know. It's like to most Americans it sounds like a D or a T, but nothing comes out your mouth. It all comes out your nose, like you're actually blowing your nose.
So when did you're from Iceland? Mm-hmm. When did you move to America?
I grew up between the ages of 5 and 11, moving around the U.S. and Germany.
Okay. My
stepfather was in the military, so in the Air Force. So we moved around a lot. And then we got stationed in Iceland, and then I stayed there. And then I didn't move back until 2004 to Virginia.
It's Virginia.
That was pretty boring.
Yeah, there's nothing going on in Virginia. How did you make your way out to Portland?
Oh, God, that's a long story.
Long boat ride.
It is a long boat ride. I went the other way around. That's
a Rambo quote if you know. As I said before, Sveinn is a photographer, and you've actually done work for Bachelor Pad, and I know that for a fact. But have you worked for any other publications or other?
Yeah, I've got Delicious Dolls is one. Pinup and Hot Rods. Just recently, Goth magazine. Old School Rods also had a
you were in Old School Rods?
Yeah.
No way. Dude, that's awesome. Is mostly what you do, is it mostly Rockabilly and Pinup themed, or do you do other stuff?
I do lots of different stuff, actually.
Well, what else do you do? Because all I know is from our subcultures.
Yes, I do alternative stuff, tattoos.
Okay.
I do some lifestyle stuff, more the grungy lifestyle stuff.
Grungy lifestyle? Like Nirvana and Soundgarden, people wearing flannel shirts? Is that what you mean?
Well, we're in Portland, so of course they're going to be flannel, right?
What do you mean by grungy lifestyle? What's it?
Just kind of gritty, sort of...
people that don't bathe, is that what you're talking about?
Well, we're out in Portland, you know that, right?
Yeah, is that what I smelled when I came in here?
Grungy lifestyle.
Do you do the photo shoots wearing like a gas mask?
Yes.
Because you can't. Do we really stink that bad? Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Is that their voices?
Let's see. I do. So I do like grungy lifestyle stuff. I do some rope shibari stuff as well.
What's that?
That's where you get tied up. You tie things up. You ever seen shibari?
Like bondage?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I've never been tied up.
I know a few people if you want to talk to them.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
I do also. I don't really do any weddings and things like that. I try to stay away from that.
Have you ever done a wedding?
Yes.
What's that like?
It's a long thing. It's a long process. I mean, I enjoy weddings if they are unconventional, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I don't really like standard weddings and churches and stuff. So.
No, you're probably like, here's your pictures. There you go. Have fun. And they're like, well, so what's your next gig? Gritty people tying themselves up.
I really like dark side photography, like blood and latex and and fetish and things like. I love that kind of stuff. I do that here and there.
Wait, well, obviously, you have an interest in these topics, right? Mm-hmm. Or obviously you wouldn't be photographing them. But what came first, those interests or you being a photographer first?
Oh, those interests came first.
The interest came first.
I've been metalhead my entire life. So
you're a metalhead.
Yeah.
What kind of metal do you like?
Mostly Black and Death.
Black and Death metal.
I like a lot of symphonic stuff. I'm not really into the grind or the punk direction.
Yeah.
I like the heavier, slower, meaner.
I am a fan of 80s thrash.
Yeah.
Because I am a product of the 80s.
I was a kid once too. Yeah.
Were you?
Cool, yeah.
Are you allowed to be a kid over in Iceland? I don't even know what it's like over there. I mean, like, are you like out in the fields, like with a sickle and like doing?
We live in igloos.
Oh my god!
I'm just kidding.
So how did you get into photography? Or did your interest in all these things make you be like, I really love this stuff and I want to photograph it?
It's actually my grandfather was the most famous journal photographer in Iceland.
What was your grandfather's name?
Sveinn Kjartansson. So yeah, I had the first same name, so I was named after him.
Were you close to your grandfather?
Yeah, we were pretty close. We were kind of grew up together in a lot of weird ways. So he would. I used to go with him on, like, he would have like the police radio in his house. Yeah. He would always hear when something goes on, so he'd be like first one there, getting the photos and stuff. And he used to tag along all the time, which was awesome. But he was the reason why I kind of got into photography. It was like every time I thought, because he passed away in 2001.
Oh man,
yeah, it was 2001. And so after that, it was like, every time I thought about photography, I thought about him. So it wasn't until 2012 that I really started thinking about doing, like, portraits of people and stuff. Before that, it was all landscape and still life. Yeah. And then in 2013. A good friend of mine, Gracie Lynn, who was getting into pinup modeling, and she, we were friends, and she was like, "Hey, I saw that you wanted to do some of this portrait stuff," and I said, "Yeah, let's try to do something together." And we started working together, like doing pinup photos, and then I got kind of dragged into a couple of shows down there in Florida, and then I met Scarlett St. Clair, who's also a very good friend of mine. And then I started working with the Luscious Ladies a lot back then, and that was kind of where it just took off. And then I opened my LLC in 2014.
Wow. So you've been doing this for like almost 4 years now. Yeah. Well, when you made the transition from taking pictures of still life to actual people, was there any differences? Was there anything?
Yeah, I'd actually talk to people. It was kind of annoying.
Yeah, I'm sure you hated that. Talking to models. Yeah, it sounds terrible. But is there a difference between taking pictures of a person as opposed to...
Oh, absolutely.
What is that?
Yeah, that huge difference is, like, the lighting has to be just right. It really, really does. Like, there's no... You can do lots of different things with it, and you can, do creative things with light, but if the light just isn't right, it just accents the wrong things on the face and the body.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, I mean, that's very, very important. If there's anything I've learned from, like, photography and videos, the little that I know, it's all about lighting.
It really, really is, yeah. Light is everything.
The thing I love about your photography is that there isn't any wacky or crazy like, filters, or it's like it's really crisp and clear.
Right. That's what I really go for. I really just want something that's just the photo. Like, I don't want I like playing with color and color grading and things like that. I enjoy that. It's fun. But at the end of the day, like, when I talk about pinup photography, like, I enjoy just the photo and the colors speak for themselves. That's what I want.
You've also done nude and semi-nude. Mm-hmm. What's that like? What's that like to film someone who's showing a lot of themselves to?
Well, what's interesting is that the main reason that I like pinup photography is female empowerment. Okay. That is, like, my favorite thing. Okay. I like the idea of making a woman feel really comfortable with themselves and happy with themselves and feel beautiful when they get their photos. Like, that's the pinnacle. Yeah. When it comes to, like, implied and nude and things like that, those are always very sensitive because they are literally the most vulnerable time you could possibly get them.
There are creepers out there, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of them.
I remember you were talking to me about that. And it's like, but those people are pretty obvious, I'm guessing.
No, they're not.
They're not.
They're not obvious. That's the thing.
Please say something, because I mean, if there's any pinup models out there, this is something that maybe they should know.
I wrote this article on my website sometime ago, like a blog post about it. Yeah. And I called them penis shooters. Okay. Right. And for me, these guys who, and I'm not saying it's just males, and that's the thing. It's like, it's not just males. Okay. It's a mental attitude. Yeah. But they're only shooting photos to get something that appeals to their sexual desires. Okay. Right. And that's the only reason they're shooting. And unfortunately, it happens way too much. I have lots of model friends who just hammer all day long about, you know, this creeper photographer who, you know, asks for things that isn't consensual. You know what I mean? They'll say things and make inappropriate comments or innuendos, and it just goes the wrong direction. And, you know, there's definitely those guys out there and women out there who, you know, don't get social cues. Like, that happens. Like, I get it. But the more often than not, these are people who just, they're there to get their rocks off shooting these people. And it's really unfortunate because it ruins it for photographers who are there to capture beauty and just there to make a great photo, you know?
Yeah, the main thing I notice, like on your Facebook page, you'll always have a picture, like you'll do a selfie with you and the model. Mm-hmm. You know, you can tell that, like, well, obviously this guy has a connection with this person. This person feels comfortable with him, or they wouldn't be like, hey, let's take a picture of us together. They'd probably be like, no, I think I better get going.
I gotta go.
Yeah, so that, I think that says something. But seriously, as a service to any potential pinup models out there, what are some tells that you should look out for like someone who would be a penis shooter?
Well, yeah,
because I think this is something that might be kind of important.
Yeah, it's tough because there are some red flags. You know,
what are those red flags?
And so let's differentiate between professional photographer and hobby photographer.
Please do.
Right. So professional as in a noun, not a verb. Like, not professionalism, but a professional, right? Then you have a hobby photographer. Now, one is, you know, doing things for money, and one is not.
Yeah.
Right? So that right there really determines a lot about their responsibility. Yeah. Right? So if you shoot with a hobby photographer, and this is nothing against hobby photographers, we're all hobby photographers at one point, but it's about where are you going with your modeling or your photos. Yeah. Like, you have to say, well, if I'm going to a hobby photographer, there is no expectation of professionalism. There's not an expectation of that. Yeah. There are plenty of hobby photographers out there that I know that are absolutely 100% awesome professional people, right? But the responsibility that they have is different from a professional photographer. They are saying, well, I run a business, I look at this professionally, you know, I will treat every client equally, get them, you know, their edits in a certain amount of time and things like that. Yeah. So you really have to differentiate, like, do I want to go to a person who actually does this for a living, or go to somebody who doesn't really care and doesn't put a lot of effort in? Yeah. So there are definitely hobby photographers out there that have been doing it for years and like absolutely know what they're doing. Like, sure. Those people are out there. But the ratio between that and people out there who haven't spent enough time working with professional people or in the professional environment and don't understand there's certain things you don't do. Yeah. Right? So that ratio is quite high on the hobby side. Yeah, I'm guessing so. You should be asking questions like, well, do you have a business? How long have you been running a business? How do you approach this? The other thing to also look at is the model releases. Model releases are its own beast, right? And if there's no understanding of what that photographer is going to be doing with your photos, like, that's a big indicator. If he can't say, oh no, like, I'm only going to use the photos that both you and I agree to use, like, that's a big red flag. Because if he gets a shot that you don't approve of and he uses it anyway. So it sounds to me like the more vague someone is, the more you should say be that. Yes, the more. Yeah, I guess you could say that. Because I'll tell you what I mean. I've known you since I've known you. You are a very straight shooter. You are very like, this is what I'm going to do and this is how it's going to be. And I admire that of you. But I'm guessing someone who's a little, if they're like a little vague, a little aloof, sort of like, well, we'll see what happens. Yeah. Be leery of that. Yeah, absolutely be leery of that. Yeah. Also, there's, and this is for the models out there who are listening, you know, when it comes to like working with a photographer, you should have absolutely no fears of just walking out. No. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, if you don't feel comfortable in the situation, get out of there. Like, seriously, like, don't sign anything and just leave. Yeah. Like, that's your right. That's you're protecting yourself. I think that's true for anything. It should be. If you're in any situation at all and you're feeling uncomfortable, just leave. Just get out. Absolutely, yeah. You don't have to worry about that guy's feelings or anything like that. Just do it. I have a lot of respect for these models. Mm-hmm. Because they put up with a lot of crap. Well, I mean, just the fact of like being able to, because if you were like, all right, I would not be cool with someone taking a picture of me, even just me in a bathing suit. Seriously, like, yeah. And like, let alone have that published or up on the internet anyway.
So I have a lot of respect for these girls because it's like they are showing a lot of themselves that I honestly would never want to do.
That leads me right to why I love pinup photography.
Why is that?
It's female empowerment.
Yeah.
It's like it's one of my favorite things. I love the idea of doing a photo shoot for a woman and her feeling so empowered and good about herself and feeling beautiful when she gets her photos. Like that's what it's about, you know. And that's what us as men, we respect that and we love that and we think that that's awesome. That confidence and that empowerment is beautiful. There's
a lot of crossover between rockabilly, pinup, and the tiki scene.
Technically, pinup is not just a single genre.
Explain.
So pinup is a general term.
Okay.
Kind of like saying vintage.
Okay.
So pinup, there is tiki pinup, there's rockabilly pinup.
Okay.
There's psychobilly pinup.
Okay.
There's goth pinup.
Okay. I get you.
There's classic pinup.
Just saying pinup is a very generic
term.
Okay, I understand.
So there's all kinds of different like subgenres of pinup. So and that's the thing is like you could be in. There's a few girls I know, like right at the top of my head. Holly Dye locally, she's really into the tiki scene.
Yeah.
So like she just that's her scene, but she wouldn't know very much on the rockabilly side. And then you take somebody who's more on the rockabilly side, they wouldn't know much about the tiki side because that's just what they. That's
there is. So you're seeing that there is a separation.
There is a separation. Yeah,
interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a separation, and it's not because they're necessarily avoiding the other genres. It's just that that's their lifestyle, and most of the pinup girls that I meet are lifestylers in some fashion, whether it's part of the day, most of the day.
What do you mean? Hold on. What do you mean by a lifestyler?
That's just how they dress. Like
okay.
They're not just getting dressed for a photo shoot.
Okay.
Literally, that's what they dress. That's what they collect. That's what they like. That's what they surround themselves with. And that falls into like what lifestyle they're into. If they're in the rockabilly lifestyle, like they're into the rock and the cars and the shows and things like that.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't see the tiki guys heading over there for the most part. You know what I mean? Because it's a different lifestyle.
That's true.
So
that's true.
It does break down a bit. So
yeah. Well, obviously, if you're rockabilly, I mean, it's probably more centered around the music. Rockabilly music. Tiki is more about like the tiki. Well, it's interesting. I mean, I do see some overlapping.
Yeah.
Because to use rockabilly as a term, it's more of like a throwback to like 50s music, 50s, early 60s, and tiki at its prime was in around the same time.
Yeah.
So the fashion, the look is kind of the same, and there's some overlap, but
well, I mean, all of it overlaps. I mean, it's all vintage.
Yeah.
It's all it's all
absolutely
retro vintage stuff.
Well, obviously, we're sitting here in Hawaiian shirts, aloha shirts, and drinking tiki drinks. What about tiki? And for you, how long have you been into this tiki thing?
I don't know.
Has it always been around, or has it always been in the background?
It's always been in the background for me.
Yeah.
The idea of like the Hawaiian culture.
Yep.
Cocktails, rum. I freaking love rum.
Yeah, me too.
But calling it tiki culture didn't happen until I'd like to say 2015.
So
somewhere around there.
All right.
Somewhere around there, it just kind of, and that was after I got into the pinup scene. Then people started talking about tiki, and I was like, "What's this tiki stuff?" And I was like, "Oh, this is exactly what the stuff that I like."
Yeah.
So it kind of like my little brother actually used to wear Hawaiian shirts all the time when he was younger. So
cool.
So yeah, so it's always been there. It just never manifested into the word tiki until later.
Yeah, and tiki is it's a really broad term, and I mean, my love from it came from just tiki bars to begin with. I love the escapism and the decor of everything. So even Sveinn has done some work for my blog, and much appreciated. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And he's taken pictures of some tiki bars and stuff like that. And I'll tell you what, even for taking pictures in a dark bar is very, very difficult. And somehow your pictures came out are just amazing. How do you go about photographing in a tiki bar? Because there's no light.
Well, there is light. You just have to expose it correctly.
So it's all about exposure. Then.
It really, really is. Yeah. If you use unfortunately, when people talk about BTS photos and things like that, I used to do
BTS stands for behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes. I used to do behind the scenes at lots of different events and things like that.
Yeah.
And understanding the exposure of the camera versus your light in the environment, you have to have a fast lens. You have to have a low f-stop on your lens.
Yeah.
Basically, the aperture has to be wider open so it allows more light in. And then once you get to that point, you're allowing more light into the sensor, and it just kind of gets better.
So actually, Sveinn and I are involved in a Tiki video project.
Yeah, like a series, yeah.
It's called Secret Tiki Escapes, and it's a collaboration with myself, Sveinn, and Duke and Lola of Bossa Nova Life. Mm. And what we do is we go to home tiki bars. And Dieter. Dieter's been my guy for a while, and he's a photographer. He's more of a hobbyist, but he takes some great shots. Mm. And what we do is we go to home tiki bars and essentially talk to the people that own the places, kind of show off. And what Svein's contribution is, you actually get a pinup model to come, and then you do a photo shoot in their home bar.
Photo shoot interview, yeah.
Yeah, do you want to talk about what you do on your side of that?
Sure, yeah. I think it's great because we're kind of mashing together different genres into because we're kind of bringing it all together into it's all vintage stuff. You know what I mean? And and the more you get into retro vintage stuff, the more you see how much there is out there and how much overlaps. So I usually find somebody in the area, whether it's Portland or Seattle, who is in the scene of pinup modeling, whether it's tiki or rockabilly or psychobilly, whatever it is, and that is somebody in the culture. You know what I mean? We had over at Dawn's, we had Kitty Mansfield, who's
she's a
super cool person,
Seattleite, right?
Yeah, Seattleite, and finding all these people and doing small interviews and talking about what got them into doing the pinup stuff and where where they've been and what they do and stuff. It's pretty interesting. I really love it. It's a nice way to break up the monotony of the videos that we have online now with the pinup culture and the tiki culture and stuff. Yeah,
I remember we had a conversation, and you were saying one of the main reasons why you wanted to be part of this project is that it's one thing to photograph a woman somewhere. Mm-hmm. It's something that you don't really think about is you still need to have a background.
Yeah.
You still need to have, for lack of a better term, a set. Say you wanted to photograph, because you've done photography at the Maikai down in Florida.
Yeah. And the Aku.
And the Aku, cool. And you were saying it's just it ain't like you can just call up the place and be like, hey, yeah, I want to come over and take a couple pictures. They're like, yeah, all right, you can do that, but it's going to cost you.
Mega.
Yeah, it's not cheap.
No.
So the fact that you're able to do this photography in someone's home tiki bar.
It's really neat. I mean, number one, when you talk about photos and pinup photography or vintage photography or retro photography, anything in that direction, you really have to have a story there. Yeah. You have to have something to create that illusion of that is a vintage spot. You couldn't take a pinup girl and put her in front of a modern car and then call it a retro photo.
Yeah, you have a picture of a model in front of a PT Cruiser.
Right.
When you move to America and you're like, so what's your name? And you're like, well, my name in Breely's like, whatever you say. And you're like, what's your name? Tom. And you're like, I got this down pat. So where are we going? Portland.
My favorite is going to
you're like, this is gonna be so easy. What's your name? Jenny. Because what's the chick's name over in Iceland? Probably something like some word that's like this long, with a lot of J's and A's and T's, right?
Not really.
No. What's a common girl's name over in Iceland?
Oh, what's a common name?
Yeah, or just a name.
Well, I mean,
I'm curious.
My mom's name is Sigurður.
Yeah, that's a little bit more involved than Sue.
Well, that's the thing is you can't take a photo and not have a story in it.
Yeah.
Even if you take a shitty photo. Even if you take a crappy photo.
Yeah.
If you take a crappy photo.
You can take a crappy photo, but it would have to be in the bathroom. Get it? Crappy photo, bathroom.
I don't get it. That must be toilet humor or something.
Oh my god. That's all right. That's gonna be in the. That's gonna be in the. Hey gang, this is Tiki with Ray, and I just want to say thank you very much for checking out my video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to see more episodes, click on the subscribe button. And if you liked the video, give it a like. That would mean a lot to me. And if you have any comments or suggestions, please leave a comment in the comment section below.